Ladies and gentlemen, James Lane here. This is episode 151 of the American Reveille Podcast. Today is Memorial Day. It's a solemn holiday. It's a solemn holiday, folks. I feel quickly obliged to read what I posted on social media this morning. We take this day to honor our fallen brothers and sisters from battlefields and city streets at home to battlefields across the world. We raise our glass to honor the fallen soldier, sailor, marine, and airman. I extend this honor to our allies and our enemies, for death is the only great adventure left. Cheers. Folks, in honor of the fact that it's a solemn holiday, I figured I would do a podcast, a history podcast, if you will. I'm going to go over a war that most people haven't heard of. I lived in the Philippines for a while, so I know a thing or two about the Philippine-American War, and I think it is a war that's overlooked, a war that's very important, and a war that kind of bonds us to the Philippine people even before the events of World War II. Folks, I think this is going to be a very important episode, and I want to honor the dead by giving it to you. So stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, James Lane here. How you guys doing? Episode 151 of the American Reveille Podcast. I don't want to call it the Memorial Day special. It just happens to be Memorial Day, a solemn holiday. Like I said in the introduction, we're going to do a historical podcast, some stuff a lot of people have never, ever heard about, the Philippine-American War. It binds us as a people. It swears us to them by blood, ladies and gentlemen, far before the events of World War II, and now with the Chinese escalation, the artificial islands, all of the Chinese fishing vessels filled with military members surrounding the Philippine Islands, we don't know what China's up to. I mean, we have a pretty good idea. But at the end of the day, regardless of how far left Biden is, regardless of how extreme the left has become, this country is sworn to the archipelago of the Philippines in blood. In blood, both our blood, their blood, and hundreds of thousands of civilians, ladies and gentlemen. Our history isn't always good. It isn't always bad. But the left likes to take our history and shove it down our throats. They like to say that we can't honor the dead, that we can't honor the past, that we can't look back to our mistakes and our victories and our follies and our friends and foes and our history, ladies and gentlemen, our history. We can't look back and find the good, find the lessons learned, and do what America was meant to do. Improve, become better, become greater. That is how we honor the dead. We honor the fallen military member by making this country greater, freer, and better for every single American, every single day, ladies and gentlemen. It's important. It's important we know our history, especially since the left is trying to erase it. And this is a history that wasn't even taught when I was in school. I didn't even learn about it until I went to the Philippines, until I lived in the Philippines. And as a lot of you know, I'm married to a Filipina. I have mixed race children. I definitely have spent my time there as a foreigner and as a friend alike. And it holds a place in my heart near and dear. It really changed my life to really spend time and live the way I lived when I was there. A lot of people go to these places as tourists and they live in skyscrapers and they, never leave the cities. But I spent a lot of time living with just your average everyday people in your average everyday setting in the provinces and in the cities. I lived in Mindanao, in Davao City. I was there when the ISIS attack in Mawari happened and they were rolling tanks through the city. I was in Manila. I've been in Manila. I lived in Manila. I've lived all throughout some different areas that, let's just say, you're not really supposed to go if you're a foreigner. But if you're humble and if you can let go of some of your first world problems, you may find it to be a very cathartic experience. And for me, it was life-changing. So I felt on Memorial Day, with the amount of dead surrounding all of these different things that have occurred in our history, it would be important to honor not just our soldiers, but their soldiers, their civilians as well, by telling a little history story, one that isn't spoken of very often, never was before, and hasn't been in a long time, folks. This is the history, the accurate history of the Philippine-American War. And I'll tell you a little bit from both sides of it as we go through, because I've actually walked through these historical districts. I've been to their museums as well. I've been in Intramuros, and I've been to a lot of different places. I've overlooked the Bay of Manila, the same bay where the American fleets defeated the Spanish Armada, ladies and gentlemen, to end the Spanish-American War. Don't screw with me, folks. I got a history degree. We're going to play, and we're going to play hard, ladies and gentlemen. But first, before we play, I think I'm going to do my ad, all right? We got to do the ad for the sponsor of the show, and it's a product that I actually use, that I like, and I think we're going to do the Mark Levin style ad. I think we should. What do you guys think? You think we should do the Mark Levin style ad? If anyone's familiar with Mark Levin, he has a very unique way of bringing in his advertisers, all right? So we're going to try this, all right? Hold on. I have to channel the inner Levin, all right? This is going to be, I don't know how difficult it's going to be. I just have to remember what it was to live on the East Coast and get pissed about something. So give me a second. All right, I think I got it, all right? You ready? This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Life Change Tea. Life Change Tea, getthetea.com, the best tea that you can find out there for the best price, the most patriotic of teas. The Life Change Tea has been changing lives since some point decades ago. Listen, Life Change Tea, proprietary blend, herbs, all these things that clean out your pipes, make everything good, and give you a patriotic colon. Guys, I've lost like 20 pounds or more. You can see it in my stomach. Life Change Tea has been fantastic. Thank you so much, Life Change Tea, for sponsoring the American Reveille Podcast. Proud partners with the American Reveille Podcast. Life Change Tea, getthetea.com. Promo code James, free shipping and handling. Promo code James, free shipping and handling. Mark Levin. No, wait. Actually, that's the wrong podcast. I think I said Pardcast. Anyway, that's the sponsor. Stick around for a minute or two after this episode's over, and there will be a little ad I put together, a minute or two, for Life Change Tea. Tells you what's in it, what's great about it. It's fantastic. It really did help me, and I'm drinking it right now. What, you thought I was drinking alcohol at the beginning of this episode? I don't drink, guys. Look, that's Life Change Tea right there, baby. That was my toast. Life Change Tea, getthetea.com. Free shipping and handling using promo code James, getthetea.com. Listen, guys, it works. It's gentle. It won't hurt your tummy. Take it from me. It does the trick. Change your life now. Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. Promo code James. All right, guys, let's get back to the show. Hey, listen, guys, there's history all over this world. History you've never even heard of. History that's been buried in time, buried by governments, oppressive people that have been looking to manipulate the narrative for their own gain. And the Philippines is no different. The Philippines contains tons of American history. When I lived in Davao City, I used to be part of the VFW over there, and I would go and do colors with them, celebrate holidays with them. And there were graveyards in Davao City, all right, in Mindanao, in the bottommost part of the island chain in the archipelago of the Philippines. All right, there are unknown soldiers, all right, tombs of the unknown soldier for U.S. veterans. All right, far away from here, ladies and gentlemen. We have our dead all over the planet, and we have to honor them, honor our foes, our friends, our allies. Today is a solemn day, a day we pray for the dead. May they rest in peace. May the fallen service member find peace in the afterlife, on to the next adventure, and may we honor them by doing better, being better, making a better world for our children. Amen. And that's what we're here doing right now. We're here teaching some history today on the American Reveille Podcast, episode 151, the same as Bacardi, but not the same after punch, guys. Listen, do me a favor. If you're on Parler, follow me there, American_Reveille. If you're on MeWe, follow me on MeWe, American_Reveille. If you're on Gab, you can find me there too, American_Reveille. That's Reveille. Hey, YouTube, F off. You know what YouTube did? YouTube didn't like the last couple podcasts that came out. They were hitting. People really liked them. Our numbers, they were going up. Then all of a sudden, we saw them fall down. And then what happened? I got a community strike. This is episode 151, right? YouTube gave me a community strike for episode 24, something that came out last year. Episode 24. And now I can't upload for a week. I can't comment for a week. I can't do anything on YouTube for a week. YouTube is censoring the up and coming. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you use alternate platforms, please check out Odyssey, ODYSEE.com. Ladies and gentlemen, American_Reveille right there, or you could just search American Reveille Podcast, but look for American_Reveille. I'll come right up. All right. That is a fantastic alternate platform, and they use a blockchain technology to power it. It's really good. Gab TV also is really good. Gab.com is an alternate social media platform, but they have a video hosting service for the premium members as well. Guess what? I'm blue checkmark on Gab. I got a video service there, and they're fantastic. Check me out there. American_Reveille. The same on BitChute, ladies and gentlemen. The same on Rumble. American_Reveille. If you like to listen only, we're on Apple Podcasts. Give me a 5-star rating there, please. Give me a review. Handwrite it if you could. It really helps the algorithm. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, everything. It's all in the description section below, ladies and gentlemen. I need your help, all right? I really need your help. If I had any wish that I could wish on Memorial Day, it would be that you would share this show, ladies and gentlemen. We are being censored by big tech at all angles. This podcast, this episode today is for people's knowledge, is for the honor, is for the history, and nobody's going to hear it unless you do your part and share it. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to tell people about the American Reveille Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, I want to thank you so much. I want to say that I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for honoring the fallen servicemen and women with me today by talking about history, by talking about the dead, by bringing up their names. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 151, the Philippine-American War. The Philippine-American War between the United States and Filipino revolutionaries from 1899 to 1902, an insurrection that may be seen as a continuation of the Philippine Revolution against Spanish rule. The Treaty of Paris, 1898, had transferred Philippine sovereignty from Spain to the United States, but was not recognized by Filipino leaders whose troops were in actual control of the entire archipelago, except for the capital city of Manila. Although an end to the insurrection was declared in 1902, sporadic fighting continued for several years thereafter. And, you know, folks, I've actually been to the museum in Manila, in the Philippines, and it says 1898 to 1903. So every country has its own definition of the events that occurred. But, folks, this was a big deal, because the United States was expected to free the Philippines. The Filipino leaders were under Spanish rule for 333 plus years, guys. 333 plus years. That's a very long time. They were expecting freedom, and instead, the United States basically bought the Philippines with the surrender of the Spanish in 1898. Of course, the Filipinos were pissed, and they said, F you, U.S., we don't recognize the fact that you own us. This obviously caused an issue, and fighting ensued. The end of Spanish rule and the first Philippine Republic. If you can see this picture here, these are literally people from the province, folks in very basic military garb, all right, with muskets. Okay. And not that the U.S. Army had much better. All right. But they definitely were better equipped. But this is a horde of folks here, a swarm of folks surrendering to the Americans in the 1900s. Let's go back a couple years there from the early 1900s. Let's go back to the late 1800s. Look, in preparation for possible war against Spain, Assistant Secretary of the Navy Teddy Roosevelt, all right, these people had a pass before they were the president, he placed the U.S. Asiatic Squadron in Hong Kong on alert. When war was declared in April 1898, Commodore George Dewey, and if you're in the Navy or were in the Navy, you know that name very well, he sailed from Hong Kong and defeated the Spanish fleet in Manila Bay on the morning of May 1st, 1898. But he couldn't occupy Manila until ground troops arrived 3 months later. And I've actually stood on the edge of Manila Bay and looked out onto the bay and imagined what that fight, what that naval firefight was like. All right. Apparently, and according to history, the Spanish Armada was decisively defeated in that battle, folks. In the meantime, on June 12, 1898, the Filipinos declared independence and proclaimed a provisional republic with General Emilio Aguinaldo as president. Within days, on the other side of the Pacific, the American Anti-Imperialist League had begun to take shape. This organization, which opposed American involvement in the Philippines, grew into a mass movement that drew support from across the political spectrum. Its members included luminaries such as social reformer Jane Addams, industrialist Andrew Carnegie, philosopher William James, and author Mark Twain. On August 13, and you know, by the way, another a little piece of history, author Mark Twain was the one that got Ulysses S. Grant to publish his memoirs. Just saying, on August 13th, Manila fell after a bloodless battle. Spanish governor Juadenes had secretly arranged a surrender after a mock show of resistance to salvage his honor. American troops were in possession of the city, but Filipino insurgents controlled the rest of the country. The leaders of the nascent Philippine Republic did not recognize U.S. sovereignty over the islands, and the United States rejected Filipino claims of independence. Conflict was, of course, inevitable. Folks, on the night of February 4th, 1899, all right, shooting erupted on the outskirts of Manila. I want you to imagine, all right, that you're living in your city. I want you to imagine being a Filipino, all right, and you're living in your city. You've been under Spanish rule. Your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, everything has come to this moment, all right? And then a new conqueror was rolling in, okay? Somebody who was supposed to be your friend. And there was a lot of mistrust in the Filipino government as well. There was a lot of people selling each other out. There was a lot of bad things and corruption happening there. And there was a lot of bad things and corruption happening in the U.S. as well, with certain other historical stories that would be for another special. But I want you to imagine waking up to that, waking up to more death, waking up to war. All right. In a time where there was no internet, no cameras. I mean, there's cameras, but nobody has a camera on their phone, right? Nobody's coming. You have to actually set that stuff up. You're like building a camera in 1898. You know what I mean? Listen, a lot of atrocities happened. A lot of atrocities have happened for many years on many different battlefields in many different countries across this world over vast expanses of time. But the result is always the same. Many, many people undeservedly have died on all sides of conflict. All right, ladies and gentlemen. And this was no different. You wake up and your neighbors are dying. People are dying. On the other hand, all right, you're an American troop. Okay, you're an American troop in the 1800s, the late 1800s, sailing across the world. It still wasn't easy back then. We didn't have radar in 1898, okay, folks? We didn't. We may have had some iron ships here and there. We may have had some good technology, but it was still a hellacious, sickening journey across the ocean. It was still a terrifying journey to war, especially to a war that made no sense to many Americans, right? So you have people dying on all sides of the table, people not expecting to die, people not wanting to die, but people dying nonetheless. A sad reality, but a reality of life, a reality of life. All right, on the night of February 4th, 1899, shooting erupted. It's hot in Manila, folks. It's like South Florida. If you've ever been to Florida, that's Manila. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with a lot of roosters crowing, literally. All right, on the night of February 4th, 1899, shooting erupted on the outskirts of Manila. Morning found the Filipinos, who had fought bravely, even recklessly, defeated at all points. That's one day. While the fighting was in progress, Aguinaldo issued a proclamation of war against the United States. Anti-imperialist sentiment was strong in the U.S., and on February 6th, the U.S. Senate ratified the treaty that concluded the Spanish-American War by a single vote. All right? U.S. reinforcements were immediately sent to the Philippines. Antonio Luna, that's General Luna, okay, guys, if you ever want some really great history about a very courageous, valorous, and fantastic strategist, look up General Luna. Look him up. There's some great history there. Antonio Luna, the ablest commander among the Filipinos, was given charge of their military operations, but seems to have been greatly hampered by the jealousy and distrust of Aguinaldo, which he fully returned. Luna was murdered, and on March 31st, 1899, the rebel capital of Malolos was captured by U.S. forces. In March 1900, U.S. President William McKinley convened the Second Philippine Commission to create a civil government in the Philippines. The existence of Aguinaldo's Philippine Republic was conveniently ignored. Take a look at some of the ruins of Manila here after being shelled by artillery in 1899. All right, rubble, absolute rubble. Civilians died. Many civilians died. All right, folks, on April 7th, McKinley instructed our only president to ever get stuck in a bathtub, Chairman, all right, William Howard Taft, to bear in mind that the government which they are establishing is designed not for our satisfaction or for the expression of our theoretical views, but for the happiness, peace, and prosperity of the people on the Philippine Islands, all right? I don't think the dead on our side or their side would have anything kind to say about that statement, ladies and gentlemen. But we've mentioned Taft, we have mentioned McKinley. These are historical figures you should know about. You should know some of their pasts, ladies and gentlemen. You should pick up a book. You should read about William Taft. All right. You should read about how he and General Douglas MacArthur interacted some years later, ladies and gentlemen. Things definitely follow lines in this country. All right. They can be traced back through history, decisions that were made. All right. There's a thing that is to be said. There's a thing that could be said about fate, right? But you have to meet God halfway. Isn't that free will, right? So I think fate and decision-making interplay. And I think you could really take a look back. I think it can be traced, and it can be used as well when you're thinking strategically and tactically to see where things may be headed in the future. All right? We're bonded to the Philippines. China's messing with the Philippines. If anything happens, we must go, and we will. We will go, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Pool's talking a lot lately about the different cycles, right? The four cycles, the four historical cycles. Every 80 years, something crazy happens. We had the Civil War. We had World War I and II. Mostly World War II was the most atrocious. So I think it's World War I or World War II, which obviously Civil War, 80 years later, World War II. Now it's 80 years later, and supposedly we're supposed to expect something big in the next 5 to 10 years. And I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it, ladies and gentlemen. So you better learn your history now. Honor the dead and learn your history, lest you fall prey to your history in the future. While nothing explicit was said about independence, these instructions were later often cited as supporting such a goal. The guerrilla campaign. Meanwhile, the Filipino government had fled northward in November 1899, and now northern Philippines, ladies and gentlemen, the northern island of Luzon is very mountainous, okay? You've got all kinds of different topography. There's tons and tons of islands. It's a 7,000 chain archipelago with hundreds of languages, and many that are unfortunately going extinct, okay? But an amazing, amazing landmass with amazing features and just huge strategical advantages for most, all right? It actually took trickery to defeat the guerrilla forces. All right, let's read the guerrilla campaign. Meanwhile, the Filipino government had fled northward. In November 1899, the Filipinos resorted to guerrilla warfare, with all of its devastating consequences. The major operations of the insurrection were conducted in Luzon, and Luzon is the name of the big main island that Manila's on, by the way, guys, Luzon. And throughout them, the U.S. Army was assisted materially by indigenous Macabebe scouts, who had previously served the Spanish regime and then transferred that loyalty to the United States. The organized insurrection effectively ended with the capture of Aguinaldo on March 23, 1901, by U.S. Brigadier General Frederick Funston. That's a tongue twister. Frederick Funston. After learning of the location of Aguinaldo's secret headquarters from a captured courier, Funston personally led an audacious mission into the mountains of northern Luzon. He and a handful of his officers posed as prisoners of war, marching under the guard of a column of Macabebe scouts who were disguised as rebels. Aguinaldo, who had been expecting reinforcements, welcomed the lead elements of the force only to be stunned by a demand to surrender. When Funston arrived, Aguinaldo remarked, "Is this not some kind of joke?" before being led back to Manila. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here's some more pictures of U.S. troops during the Philippine-American War. Take a look at those cowboy hats, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at those cowboy hats. Just like some of the moments we've spent in wars we maybe shouldn't have been a part of or should have been a part of, we are still all the same throughout history, regardless of our color, creed, and background. We're Americans, ladies and gentlemen. Many of these people didn't want to be there, just as they didn't want to be in Vietnam or World War II or the Civil War, anywhere else, just as the Filipinos who fought didn't want to be there either. We're all bonded in blood, folks, bonded in blood. Although Aguinaldo pledged his allegiance to the United States and called for an end to hostilities, which he did basically to save more people, all right? If you know anything about Filipinos and honor, that was a big move for Aguinaldo. The guerrilla campaign continued and with unabated ferocity. Brigadier General Jacob F. Smith, enraged by a massacre of U.S. troops, responded with retaliatory measures of such indiscriminate brutality that he was court-martialed and forced to retire. It's because he slaughtered innocent civilians. It's disgusting. After the surrender of Filipino General Miguel Malvar in Samar on April 16, 1902, the American civil government regarded the remaining guerrillas as mere bandits, though the fighting did continue. About 1,000 guerrillas under Simeon Ola were not defeated until late 1903 in the Batangas province south of Manila. Troops commanded by Macario Sake resisted capture until as late as 1906. And here is some of the Filipino soldiers there. All right, they're our allies now. We don't need to call them insurgents. Listen to me, folks. Back then, history kept going. Our records say 1906. When you go to the museums there, when you look at the historical records in the Philippines, they were fighting back until 1911, ladies and gentlemen, till 1911. The last organized resistance to U.S. power took place on Samar from 1904 to 1906. There, the rebels' tactic of burning pacified villages contributed to their own defeat. Although an unconnected insurgency campaign by Moro bands on Mindanao continued sporadically until 1913, the United States had gained undisputed control of the Philippines, and it retained possession of the islands until after World War II, folks, when we finally kept our promise and freed them, allowed them to declare their independence, and became their allies in 1946. That is a big history. All right. Imagine 1898. All right. They expected freedom. And then they ended up spending almost another 50 years under rule from somebody else. Now, in that time, we developed bonds. You can go to the Philippines and get spaghetti with like sweet ketchup sauce and cut up hot dogs in it right now. You get hamburgers over there, KFC. Guys, you have not had KFC till you've dipped it in the gravy they have in the Philippines. Listen. Whatever the bad past or good past or any past we've had, we are now bonded in blood, and that is the importance of remembering that we have on Memorial Day, the bonds that this country has made with other countries, the bonds that soldiers have made with other soldiers, that airmen, Navy men, that Marines have made with other soldiers on foreign lands, have shed their blood for. They've died so that we could build this brotherhood and sisterhood across the globe, ladies and gentlemen. And we are connected to the Philippines, and the Philippines are connected to us. All right? They're connected to us. And we're going to speak about that and talk about that in the casualties section right here. And you're going to understand why I have such a strong sentiment about this. I'm going to tell you about numbers you can't even imagine, folks. I'm going to tell you about numbers you can't even imagine. The human cost of the war was significant. An estimated 20,000 Filipino combatants were killed. That's an entire stadium, folks. And more than 200,000 civilians perished as a result of combat, hunger, or disease. That's an entire city in some places, ladies and gentlemen. Of the 4,300 Americans lost, some 1,500 were killed in action, while nearly twice the number succumbed to disease. So 200,000 civilians died over this. 200,000, whether it be from them or from us. All right. Americans died. Filipinos died. Soldiers died. Military men and women died. And we are bonded in blood. And we memorialize those folks today. We memorialize those folks. I said in the beginning that I extend Memorial Day beyond U.S. soldiers, ladies and gentlemen. I extend it to everybody. Today is a day, a solemn day where we remember the dead, and we remember the dead of the Philippine-American War on all sides of the conflict, ladies and gentlemen. We remember all of the dead servicemen across the world today. All right. If we can't show mercy, if we can't be humble, if we can't be grateful, and if we can't show love and respect, then we don't deserve the freedom, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So even though we need to be strong, we need to defend our land, we need to fight for freedom, we also have to remember the past. We have to honor the dead, ladies and gentlemen. If we don't honor our history, we are doomed to repeat it. And that's why I think it's important that you see the pictures from the horrible Philippine-American War that took place. All right. The horrors of the Philippine-American War that you weren't taught in school. This is from October 5th, 2017, but it speaks volumes, ladies and gentlemen. It speaks volumes. I want to read through this little thing here, and I want to then show you the gallery. Do me a favor, guys. If you really enjoy what we're doing, if you like this episode, if you're thankful for the history lesson, if you appreciate this different type of Memorial Day special, if you would want to call it that, compared to what everybody else is doing, something that gives people knowledge, something that empowers people with yet another reason why we fight for freedom, yet another reason why we're so bonded with certain allies. I just ask you to share. All right. Just share. It's not hard. Do me that favor and share. Please hit the like button. Please comment. All right. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Whatever you can do to get the word out about the American Reveille, I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate. I need your help. The wall of censorship is huge, and I do not have the type of money, means, or manpower to fight it, so I need your help to push back. So whatever you can do to share and follow along, go into the description section below and follow the newsletter. That's where you'll hear about contests and the most up-to-date status of the company and what we're trying to do. Folks, I need your help. Please help me out there, all right? Let's read this. When the Americans first arrived in the Philippines in 1898 during the Spanish-American War, the Filipinos believed that their independence would soon be ensured. The Filipinos had attempted a revolution against their Spanish colonial overlords in 1896, but they were largely unsuccessful. But with the Americans now poised to defeat the Spanish, the latter's 333-plus rule of the Philippines was coming to an end. The Filipinos aided the American efforts against the Spanish, and soon Filipino and American forces regained control of most of the islands in the country. When the Treaty of Paris was signed in December 1898, the United States gained control of most of Spain's former colonies, including the Philippines, guys. The Philippines realized that they had just traded one ruler for another, and they were having none of that. Then, In February 1899, an incident in which an American private, opened fire and killed 2 unarmed Filipino soldiers caused hostilities to erupt between the two nations. It always seems to be something like that, right? The shot heard around the world, or the execution of some prime minister, something, right? Some unwitting private shoots 2 Filipinos in some dumb move, and then boom. War, ladies and gentlemen. That's how easy it is to blow the powder keg. Less than 3 months after the Treaty of Paris was signed, the Philippine-American War began. Both sides committed atrocities during the war. American forces leveled entire cities and burned villages. Civilians were forced into overcrowded and disease-ridden concentration camps. On the other side, Filipinos would cut off the ears and noses of captives. Others were supposedly buried alive. One soldier was reportedly crucified upside down with his intestines hanging down his face. Another man was buried up to his head and killed by ants. That's a hell of a creative way to die. After 2 years of such atrocities, Filipino President Emilio Aguinaldo surrendered in April 1901 following his capture. However, several Filipino generals continued the war effort against the U.S. These efforts persisted until General Miguel Malvar, who had taken over the Filipino government, surrendered in April 1902. We've obviously just talked about this, but you need a refresher before you see these pictures. It had raged for 3 years, and around 6,000 soldiers had died in the conflict. Those were American, whereas 20,000 Filipino soldiers had been killed, with nearly 250,000 Filipino civilians dead. Famine, disease, and other contributing to the death toll itself. And now, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a sensitive stomach or a fainted heart, you shouldn't look at this, but for Memorial Day, the solemn holiday, the holiday in which we memorialize dead servicemen and women across the globe, we will gaze upon these atrocities from both sides. We'll gaze upon the dead from both sides, and we will honor them by bearing witness to them. All right? Look at these American soldiers. That's the 17th Infantry. Look at that McAfee coming up to scan right at the wrong moment. The 17th Infantry heading to the front lines. Take a look at that. Look at those. It looks like a John Wayne movie. You know, you have Filipino tribesmen posing with their weapons circa 1900, ladies and gentlemen. You have U.S. soldiers right there in the trenches, 1899. You have American soldiers surveying the bodies of fallen Filipino soldiers. Those are piles of dead people, all right? Pictures like this are very similar from World War II. This is American soldiers receiving 40,000 cases of hardtack. All right, that's a nasty, nasty biscuit that they would survive on. This is in the 1900s. All right, these are injured Filipino soldiers at a makeshift hospital in 1899. All right, take a look. U.S.-Utah battery firing on the Filipinos near the San Juan Bridge. This is McLeod Hill, 1899. Take a look at them firing those cannons. Everybody from here is dead. They can all be honored on Memorial Day, even if they died from natural causes. This was 1899, folks. Stay with me. The burning of Manila. All right. I have personally walked through, rode through, brought my motorcycle through, done business in the Tondo district of Manila. There it is on fire in 1899. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine the screaming women and children. Filipinos lying dead at the Battle of Kalaokan, 1899. Obviously, on the left there, you can see American soldier. A district of Manila lying in ruins, 1899. I've stood on the walls of Intramuros and looked over the city, looked over the different districts. Manila's huge. It's made up of many small cities. Several Filipino officers held behind bars in 1901. I can only imagine what the prison conditions were back then, folks. That one right there, that man obviously wearing a local Filipino formal top there. It looks like a barong Tagalog. So our American soldiers standing with a Gatling gun. All right, 1899. If you've ever seen the movie The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, you've seen the Gatling gun in use there. I know it's a horrible reference, but I've got to let the layperson know. I'm sorry if there's any military folks that are offended by that, but you'll see the closest historical reference you can get there. So that's an old school Gatling gun mounted on wagon wheels, ladies and gentlemen, and it was a decisive death-dealing weapon of just military mass destruction back in those days, folks. Look at those mustaches. I'm jealous. My wife would kill me if I grew a mustache like that. Several Filipino soldiers lying dead in the trenches. This is Santa Ana, Manila, 1899. You should look at them. You should honor them. American or otherwise, they are dead soldiers that fought for their idea of freedom. A village lies in ruins as a result of war, 1899. You can go today, you see these concrete blocks, it's still like that in a lot of areas, still like that. American soldiers burying a corpse, 1899. This is the U.S. 24th Infantry Regiment, a regiment made up of mostly African-American soldiers standing at attention. So for all those wondering where our African-American soldiers were at the time, here is the 24th Infantry Regiment looking sharp in their uniform. This is General Gregorio del Pilar, the boy general of the Philippines with his men. He died at the age of 24 in the Battle of Tirad Pas Pampanga. This is circa 1898. That is in their regular military uniform. All right. Needless to say, I do want to bring up the Filipino forces. There were well-trained fighting forces among the Philippines with modern equipment, modern uniforms. I don't want anyone to get the misconception that I think that they were a primitive fighting force. By no means. They were some of the bravest soldiers out there, which is why I want to honor both sides. A criminal waits at the garroting post, ready to be executed, 1900. You see that? So garroting or garroting, I forget how to pronounce it, but I believe it's slitting their throat. So they're tied to this pole. Somebody's going to come up there and publicly slice their throat in execution, ladies and gentlemen. Several American soldiers preparing for battle in Manila, 1899. Folks, take a look. That's history. That's reality. That's where everything that's happening now leads. This may be a different type of fight. This may not deal with socialism or communism or anything like that, but all of the crap the left is pulling right now leads to nothing but conflict. This was unnecessary conflict, and the conflict that we are going through right now and could possibly be going through in the near future is unnecessary as well, guys. The inside of a church damaged after bombardment. All right, bombing churches. American soldiers making the long journey from San Francisco to the Philippines. Take a look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the wooden ships. Look at them crammed in there. It was not a fun, safe, or comfortable journey at all. Here's the Teatro Caviteño. Several Filipino officers at their headquarters in Cavite. All right, take a look at that. Sharp. White uniforms look good. Several Filipino leaders, including President Emilio Aguinaldo, bottom row, third from right, posing for a photo, Cavite, 1898. All right, these are gentlemen all wearing suits. Listen, they've been westernized for a very, very long time over there. All right, you need to look up the history of the Philippines and the United States together. It is a long history, all right? And even before that, the history between Spain and the Philippines. So we're sharp, smart gentlemen. Unfortunately, in the Philippines, there was tons of corruption in the government, tons of incentive to sell people out, tons on the line, loyalties, rich, wealthy families. It was like a telenovela. It's like a soap opera for real. It really, really is. This is American soldiers standing guard over the Pasig Bridge in Pasig, 1898. I have been over the Pasig Bridge. It might not be this specific bridge. They may have rebuilt it. I don't know. But the Pasig River has bridges. I have been over those bridges. Several American soldiers build a bridge to cross a river. Look how we used to do this back in the day. all old school style, bundling together like sticks and stuff and putting all these little pieces together. We've definitely come a long way technologically. And this is a picture you saw from before, a group of Filipino soldiers surrendering. And that is that, folks. They don't teach about this war in schools. They don't teach our history anymore, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why I felt it was important. That's part of the reason why, to bring up our history today on Memorial Day. If there's any way I can honor the dead from both sides of any conflict from all around the world, if there's any way I can honor dead military members, it is by teaching history. Our young people have forgotten, and they need to be reminded, ladies and gentlemen. So once again, I'll raise my glass to the dead and fallen servicemen and women from all across the world, from all countries, all foes, all friends, everybody. We honor the dead. Amen. Guys, thank you so much for watching episode 151 of the American Reveille Podcast. I know it was kind of a different format. Please let me know what you thought about it. Leave your feedback in the comment section below. You can also email me at jameslane@AmericanReveille.com. Remember to follow me on all social media, American_Reveille. Find me on all alt platforms for video hosting, Odyssey, Rumble, BitChute, all of those different places. You can find me on audio. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Audible, all those different places. Everything is in the description section below. And do me a favor, if you can, we need your help. My computer's slowing down. I'm trying to build this company up. I'm trying to create jobs for people. But right now we are hurting just like everybody else. And I need to purchase a new video card for my computer. It's going to cost me a couple $1,000s. There's a shortage of video cards across the world, and I am in need. So do me a favor, if you could, if you would like to consider it, a donation to the American Reveille LLC, please go to our website, AmericanReveille.com, and hit the support us tab, or go to the description section below. Hit the link down there to support us, and please give a donation. We greatly appreciate it. We take cryptocurrency as well. Email me directly, jameslane@AmericanReveille.com. Put it towards this cause. We're a blue collar startup. I am not getting any big time funding. Everything has come out of my bank account. We have a little bit with a sponsor. We have a little bit coming in from donations, and we use it to build what we're doing. None of it goes in my pocket. So please, if you'd like to help the cause, please hit the support us tab on the website, or go in the description section below and click the link to donate. Thank you guys so much. And if you'd like to support us in a different way, try yourselves out some not ancient, that's a different product they sell, but try yourself out some Life Change tea. Guys, I drank a whole glass of it during this episode. I drink it twice a day. It really has helped me lose weight. It really does take the toxins out of your gut and of your system. I wouldn't put it on this show if I didn't believe in the product. I really do believe in it. That's getthetea.com. Promo code James, get you free shipping and handling, and stick around for an extra minute or two for a quick little ad I put together about Life Change tea. So guys, thank you once again. I hope that the dead rest in peace and that they are honored on this Memorial Day. I hope you have a blessed day, and I will see you on episode 152. Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, James Lane here, and I want to tell you about Life Change tea. That's right, Life Change tea. I have a pack of it right here. Listen, as many of you know, I've been working really hard to get back in shape, okay? I was thinking lately, right? And you should probably be thinking about it too. With how crazy everything is, with how unstable the government seems, with all of these socialists, all of this leftist insanity. You would just call it insanity. Who knows when the hell I'm going to have to run, or when I'm going to have to, I don't know, save my family from something. I don't know. So I was getting fatter and fatter, feeling crappier and crappier. My diet was junk. I started by cleaning up the diet. I've been working out more and more, but I was still bloated. I was still gassy. I was still feeling crappy. And I finally decided to pull out an old trick in the book. All right. Something that I used for weight loss in the past. And I was thinking about a cleanse, right? Maybe take something that would help me evacuate my bowels a little bit, if you know what I mean. But you know, what I found was something different. I found Life Change tea. All right. www.getthetea.com. I found this Life Change tea. And instead of a 7-day or a 14-day cleanse, a 3-day cleanse, what they were offering was a daily tea, like a daily delicious iced tea, not some kind of weird hot tea or some kind of nasty tasting thing. No, this was a health supplement. All right, I started reading about it, and they were talking about all these herbs, these ancient herbs, right? Look at this: organic blessed thistle herb, malva leaf, organic marshmallow leaf. I didn't even know what the heck a marshmallow leaf was. Apparently, it's for anti-inflammatory and antioxidants and stuff. I looked some of this stuff up. It's crazy. Milk thistle extract that cleans your liver and kidneys. I mean, there's all these different things in here, but I was happy. I was attracted to it because it was all natural. It was put together in the U.S., right? Obviously, they've got to get spices from these very special places. Not spices, but, these special herbs. They got to get them from special places around the world, but it's all done here. It's packaged, put together, and blended accordingly right here in the USA, all right? And I tried it, and it was delicious. Look at this. I'm old school. I fill a jug. You see this big jug right here? And for those listening over there on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and everything like that, I'm holding this big gallon jug that used to be full of water. See those tea bags floating in the bottom there? This was full, guys. But I've been drinking it every day, twice a day, 8 ounces. Take a listen. Pour it in the glass. Oh yeah, that's not a sound effect. That's real. Look at this. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen. And mabuhay to all my Filipino friends out there. I have the mint flavor. It's actually really good. I really like it. It's yummy. Look, this stuff's good. I can take that right now. I'm going to do 2 hours of podcast recording after this. It's not like me drinking that's going to send me running to the back. It's gentle. It's good stuff, all right? So it's got all these herbs. They cleanse you out. They make you regular again. They clean the toxins out of your system. They help you clean the extra waste that's been stored up in the colon, the stuff that's not healthy for you, not good for you. It keeps the bloat down. I don't feel so swollen. You know how you feel like swollen sometimes? Your fingers are... Yeah, you don't feel like that. It's gone. It's absolutely gone. So it's good stuff, guys. Listen, you have to go to getthetea.com, GETTHETEA.com, www.getthetea.com, www.getthetea.com. Promo code James, folks. Promo code James. That'll get you free shipping and handling. It's not expensive. It's good stuff, all right? It helps maintain your health. It cleanses your body from all kinds of toxins, all kinds of things that can cause colds and flus and different things like that. It keeps the bugs out real good. It helps your digestion, all right? Just like I've been saying, my bloats, I feel so much better, guys. I feel so much better. And just in this journey that I'm taking to get back in shape, I really feel like it's helping me immensely. It really is. I really think so. So try it out, guys. Life Change Tea. You just saw me drink a bunch of it. You just saw my almost empty jug. That's, by the way, like the 3rd jug. All right. That's not the first jug. Not the first jug at all. Trust me. It's good stuff, guys. You're not going to be disappointed. You're going to thank me. All right. www.getthetea.com. www.getthetea.com. Get your Life Change Tea. Use the promo code James. Free shipping and handling. Thanks, guys.